However, there's one that they don't even talk about, and they don't want to even mention by name because they feel it's inviting evil into their lives. And Black Yé'ii translates to the evil one, which is the subtitle of the book.
First, I want to introduce you to Joseph Lewis. Now, he's been on the show before, and he had such a good time that he was ready to come back because he has a new book that he wants you all to know. And I also want you guys to make sure you pick up his first book because it's really, really interesting. And I'm just going to bring him on stage so he can tell you a bit more about what he does. And so just please help me welcome Mr. Joseph Lewis. Hello.
Hello, and thank you so much for having me again.
Oh, it is my pleasure. Thank you for coming back. Anytime, I told you before, anytime you want to come to the Horizons Author Lounge, the offer is open. So I'm really glad that you took me up on that.
Thank you. Email was originally it was my way of letting the readers know about my fictional family, the 7 adopted boys, and 2 of them were in a band receiving some fan mail. They ignored it being boys. They just ignored it. And the fan became a stalker who became rather deadly and threatened to tear this whole family apart. And a 16-year-old boy decided that it was too important. The family was too important for that to happen. And he literally puts his life on the line to save his family.
That is scary.
It was. This has been a real popular one. Barnes and Noble, my local store, has been pushing it like crazy. The person who books the author events, she has read it, and every time I'm there, if she happens to stop by the table when I have people looking at my books, she pitches that book like crazy because she just loves it.
Well, that's because it's a really interesting storyline and it has a lot of layers to it. And,
Yes.
a lot of people like a really good suspense thriller.
Yeah. What I do in my books is I'm a traditional thriller crime mystery writer. And you compare me to James Patterson, David Baldacci, John Connolly, all those guys. Michael Connolly, I guess his name. The difference between them and me is I have this layer, this thread running through my books of a coming of age story, because in each of my books represents about a year's growth in my adopted kids within this. Mm-hmm. And what I really like about my current book, Black Yé'ii, is that it really shows the maturity and the strength of character towards the very end of the book. In a very telling scene, it really shows how much they have grown throughout their journey with me through the last 10 books.
Is the new book? Are you continuing any of the characters?
Yes, they're all in it.
Oh,
all of the characters appear in every book. I might spotlight 2 or 3 different ones. This is considered to be a kind of a supernatural book in that Black Yé'ii is a Navajo spiritual deity. And like the Catholics have a whole lot of different saints, the Navajo have a whole lot of spiritual deities. However, there's one that they don't even talk about, and they don't want to even mention by name because they feel it's inviting evil into their lives. And Black Yé'ii translates to the evil one, which is the subtitle of the book. And you can see from the beginning of the book to the very end of the book how evil takes over certain characters, and yet how good will survive and do away with the evil they are faced with. And that's really the story of my fictional 7 brothers.
What's interesting, as you were talking and describing your characters, it reminded me, I don't know if you've seen this new movie, Sinners. It
Yes.
was just released. Oh, you did see it.
Yeah.
So one of the most captivating characters in the movie, from what I've seen so far, is the Native American who came to warn the people not to let this man into your house. We
Yeah.
never saw them again, but as we're watching the movie, our minds kept going back to these Native Americans. And I was after the movie ended, I told my boyfriend, I was like, man, I was waiting for the natives to come back and save the day, and they didn't. And then I saw a TikTok video where they were saying, well, they knew what was happening and they tried to warn them, but they didn't listen. So they said, all right, you guys just enjoy life.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a series right now on Prime Video called Dark Wind, and that really takes place. It comes from a Tony Hillerman book, and his two main characters were Lieutenant Joe Leaphorn and an officer, Jim Chee. And they are confronted in this particular episode. They are dealing with evil, and he calls it a monster. And I can't even pronounce the Navajo name of it. But basically, at the end, Leaphorn turns to Chee and said, "It's not a monster, it's a man." And I think what happens especially in my book, this evil is personified in several of the characters. And like I said, towards the end of the book, I didn't know I was writing this as it came out. But it turns out that my 7 characters are faced with this evil character at a place where traditionally is a lot of fun, relaxation, a lot of peace, serenity. Right. And because this character appears and they know it's deadly, you see the boys who are transformed and they become the protection. They want to do away with this evil. And I think whenever a writer writes about good versus evil, and you have that in several books, The Stand by Stephen King, you have that in Lord of the Flies by William Golding. What happens is it's not so much the battle between good and evil, but it's how the characters themselves respond to the evil or the goodness. And I don't remember who it was that coined the phrase that within us there are 2 wolves, good and evil. Yeah. And the one who is the strongest is the one you feed the most of. And I think one of my Navajo characters, George, he actually tells his brother this. And they have this conversation at a very peaceful lake up north, away from the chaos. And they talk about Black Yé'ii and the influence of how they don't talk about it. They don't mention the name because it just infiltrates the entire person. And you actually see that throughout the writing of the book, Black Yé'ii.
Wow. So you've done a lot of research on this, I can tell.
Oh, had to. In order to tell the story correctly and authentically, I reached out to the Navajo Nation in northeastern Arizona, spoke with people at the museum. A wonderful lady by the name of Brenda Hatt, who's Navajo herself, helped me with pronunciations, spellings, different meanings, and things like that. And so, I wanted to make sure that somebody is not reading my book saying, "Oh, wait, this is not going to happen." Right. That's death to any writer. And so I want to make sure that whenever I write, it's going to be authentic. It's going to reach the soul and the heart of the reader. And I'm also believe that after the book is written and it's published, it ceases to be mine. It's no longer mine. It becomes the reader's book because the reader reads it and inserts his or her own thinking, experiences, what they're going through right now, what they had gone through in the past. It becomes their book. And that's really what I really believe in it. What's nice is, people have really glommed on to my particular writing. They really like the kids. They really like the cops who are involved, and the cops are recurring. And the cover, actually, by David King and Black Rose Writing, it depicts how this evil encompasses an individual. I mean, he nailed this cover, and it really comes through in the meaning of the book.